All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 20th of November, 2023. Flyers coming off a fifth straight win with a 5-2 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Bill Meltzer going to join us in just a moment. And Travis Konecny, conversation with TK after the game. He notched his 11th goal. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. 5-2 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Boy, it's been a heck of a week for the Philadelphia Flyers, as this 5-game win streak has come against some vastly different opponents. It started back on November 10th, a 6-3 win over Anaheim on the road. It continued November 11th with a 4-2 win over the Los Angeles Kings. Then it went to Carolina on the road, 3-1 win there. Vegas on Saturday, a 4-3 overtime win against the Cup champs. And no letdown for the Flyers. They didn't take the opponent, despite the fact that Columbus came into the game losers of 7 straight, now 8 straight, and they controlled the game pretty much through its entirety against Columbus. It got a little close a couple of times, didn't feel firmly in grasp going into the third period, but the Flyers get the only 2 third-period goals, and they come away with the 5-2 win. Joel Farabee, backhander, beats Spencer Martin to open the scoring, just 5:11 in. Ryan Poehling and Cam York pick up the assist, and those assists, along with all the assists that happened in the game, helps donate food to local communities in need through the Flyers and Penn Medicine's through the Flyers and the Penn Medicine Assist. Now, for every Flyers assist this season, Penn Medicine and the Flyers are donating 30 pounds of food to local communities in need. So Ryan Poehling, Cam York, thank you. Great job. Joel Farabee, 1-0 Flyers. 15:02, Alexander Texier picks up the goal to get the game tied at 1. And then 1:11 into the second period, we saw 2 power play goals against Vegas on Saturday to end that drought of 0 for 26. How about another one in the game against Columbus? 1:11 into the second period, and just 10 seconds into the power play, Bobby Brink comes back in the lineup. Boom. Power play goal right along the ice, his 4th of the season. Walker and Farabee pick up the assist. Then Ryan Poehling, shorthanded goal to give the Flyers a 3-1 lead at 6:41. That's their 5th shorthanded goal of the season, which leads the NHL. Garnet Hathaway and Sean Walker pick up the assist. Boy, Walker's just piling up points. Then Boone Jenner gets the Columbus Blue Jackets within 1 with his 8th of the season at 17:57. And then into the third period, Flyers up a goal. Travis Konecny, what a savvy 200 IQ play. He gets the puck in the offensive zone, and he's kind of all by himself. And he's just kind of along the goal line on the right side. And he kind of fakes like he's waiting on the trailer, another one of his forwards, to enter the zone. Only thing is, there was no forward entering the zone. But he convinced Spencer Martin, the Columbus Blue Jacket goaltender, there was, and got him leaning a little bit. And then he goes short side, bar down, absolute snipe, his 11th goal of the year. 4-2 Flyers, and then Cam York, he called bank, a banked 200-foot empty net goal for the 5-2 win for the Flyers. Ryan Poehling picks up an assist there as well. Multi-point performances out of Poehling, out of York, out of Farabee, out of Walker. Good night for the Flyers as they beat Columbus 5-2. Let's get to one of the goal scorers right now. He scored his 11th goal of the game. I had a chance to catch up with Flyers forward Travis Konecny after the 5-2 win. Flyers post came with Flyers forward Travis Konecny. He picked up his 11th goal in the third period. TK 5 straight. Got to feel good right now the way you guys are running.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good, and I think the biggest thing is we're not even paying attention to that. It's just come to the rink and play the same way every single night, be difficult to play against, and we're not looking at like winning games. We're looking at giving yourself a chance every night and just play right way and play hard.
Is that just kind of you guys controlling what you can control and dictating the terms on the ice more than reacting?
Exactly. That's it. It's just everyone's playing the same way. Whenever you go over the boards, you know, your teammates and your line mates are going to be on the same page. And, you know, proud of the guys right now. We're playing well.
I've heard a lot from your head coach, John Tortorella, about the room. I talked to Carter yesterday after the Vegas game and talked about how together the room is. What's been different there?
I mean, I don't know. Again, it's just a fun group right now, and everyone's buying in and playing hard for each other, and you know, it's a good feeling in there.
TK, you've been through some adversity this year as well. You guys must have handled that well because you came out on the other side of it in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, every single night you show up, same game plan. We don't care about other teams. It's about our game and playing the right way and worrying about ourselves.
11 goals at this point in the season. You are feeling it offensively, and that hasn't waned at all, has it?
I'm just honestly just trying to play the right way, and I got one late there, but I was just everyone's chipping in and buying in, doing the right things, and I was just trying to get through that game with playing the right way. And if a chance came my way, I was going to try to get one there.
Great way to start the holiday week. TK, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks.
Boy, TK sounded like a very mature pro, saying all the right things, controlling what we do, not worrying about the opposition, taking care of business and being a collective team thing, not thinking going out there and playing instinctually. The Flyers are doing all those things en route to this 5-game win streak, and they'll look to continue it coming up on Wednesday when they go to the New York to take on the New York Islanders, then back Friday to take on the New York Rangers for the Black Friday game, then back to New York on Saturday to take on the Islanders once again. So let's get to the week that was, good week, and a week that will be with our Monday Insider. He joins us every Monday. It's Mondays with Meltzer. Read his work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. It is Bill Meltzer who joins us now. Bill, how are you? Everybody seems to be doing good.
Yeah, it's when you're winning, it's fun coming to the rink in any capacity. It's the Flyers are consistently playing from ahead. They've been getting good goaltending. Last couple of games, the special teams even have been, the power play side's been clicking. So it's all's well right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. You get 2 power play goals against the Vegas Golden Knights. Then you get another one against the Columbus Blue Jackets. You get a shorty in there as well.
Yep.
Let's start with the Columbus game, Bill, because that's what took place last night. And, I thought this game was a slippery game in a way because you've come off 4 straight wins, a highly emotional, big game against the Stanley Cup champs in Vegas, looking to avenge that loss out in Vegas a little while back. And they came in, and Columbus is not a very good team, but they didn't treat them like they were a bad team, and they took care of business.
No, for sure. And you said it was a slippery game. It was a slippery game in another way too, because there's a lot of room to make plays, a lot of opportunities, particularly early in the game, but Columbus is hanging around. It's every time you go by 2, Columbus would draw back within 1. Besides the shorthanded goal, I thought the penalty kill in general was a momentum creator for the Flyers. They would stop a power play cold, and the momentum would stop. Any momentum that Columbus had would stall for a while, and the Flyers would take control again for a while. But you're only up by 1 going into the third, and suddenly you're a bounce away. But there was never any kind of a sense of being in trouble in the game. Columbus is still hanging around. It's by no means is a blowout. So, on the positive side, that keeps you focused. It keeps you with your foot in the gas pedal and going forward. And in the third period, there weren't a lot of shots on goal really for either team, but the Flyers made the most of theirs. First they had the breakaway by Tippett, and then they had the sniper goal, gorgeous goal by Konecny.
I think he pulled a little Star Wars Weekend Jedi mind trick on the goaltender, because he acted like there was, late players coming to join him as he was kind of standing there by himself on the right side. And then, I think he convinced Spencer Martin that was the case and got him leaning a little bit, and then he just beat him.
Yeah, that was that was
IQ
sweet.
play.
Yeah, that was tremendous. I mean, he sized up the whole situation, and then, as you said, he had him leaning, and he put it just in a perfect spot too. That was an unstoppable shot once he let go of it, and that was and then from there you get the empty netter, and you end up with the 5-2 outcome. But it was closer than that, so it was a good win. You beat a team that you're supposed to beat, but you didn't cut any corners, and you get goals from different sources. And Sam Ersson didn't see a ton of shots, but he was tested a few times when a goal against might have really hurt.
Yeah,
and he passed the tests, that he had to. And I said it was a solid win. It was a deserved win, and obviously 5 in a row, but to beat a series of good teams, to go into kind of a trap game and take care of business, that's nice to see too.
Well, he made an unbelievable left shoulder save in the second period,
Yeah.
lunging and taking some ice when he did it. Bill, let me ask you about Ryan Poehling. We didn't know a whole lot about him. He's a former first-round pick. He's got size. He can skate. He's kind of been a role player in the NHL. Sometimes you think first-round pick, oh, that guy's supposed to at least give you 50 points a year. That's not the case, but he's come in, and despite being scratched on a couple of occasions, really been a business-like player. Just kind of comes in, does his thing. He's not flashy, does the little things right, and he's a guy that showing some offense to his game, gets a shorthanded goal, gets an assist in the game. What have you seen out of Poehling this year? What have you learned about him?
He's a decent size, very a good skater, defensively responsible. I still think in the long haul, truthfully, I think his home is a fourth line.
Yeah.
He's he had occasional looks a little higher in the lineup before. When he was with Montreal, I remember he had a hat trick in his first NHL game.
Yeah.
And so I think that I think there's some upside there. And usually if you're 24, 25 on your third organization and you weren't tendered and you are a guy with a good attitude and good size and can skate, usually it's because there isn't that extra level creativity. As you said, he's very meat and potatoes in his game.
Yeah.
But all that being said, that's not said by way of criticism. I think he's a good role player. And and right at least right now, he's potted a couple goals and a pretty nice one the other night. This one was a 2-on-0 and he finished it. He found a way to get in the net. So towards push the right button on it. And at least for now, that's the right move. That being said, though, I'd really like to see Noah Cates move back up in the lineup again. I don't want him on the fourth line too long. I think he's too important to the team's future. And, I'd rather have Cates ultimately play more minutes than Poehling, but right now it's working.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm going to ask John Tortorella about on this week's Hockey and Hounds is, what is he seeing from Cates? We know that development, getting to the NHL, and when you get to the NHL is not this linear line that goes straight up. And Noah Cates is going to have to find some adjustment into his game. If you want to get more offense from him being on the fourth line is probably not the place to make that flourish.
Agreed. And, Noah had a couple of games in there the week that they played Carolina here, played the back-to-back against Buffalo. You could see Cates was pressing. It's not like Cates to lose an assignment or to turn pucks over.
Yeah.
And a couple games in a row, he actually had kind of costly turnovers because he's trying to do too much.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's the wrong decision to move him down briefly to the fourth line, kind of reset. Yeah, and he quickly righted the ship in terms of the other stuff. He's too smart of a player, too reliable of a player for that to have gone on for very long. But right now he doesn't look close to breaking loose offensively, even if you move him back up again. So I'd like to see that worked on. Poehling's a guy in a 1-year contract, and in the long term, maybe he ends up being more than a 1-year guy, but maybe he doesn't. But I think Cates is the guy who's going to be here for a while. So,
Yeah, and Noah Cates is going to be a player that's going to work his butt off through anything as well.
For sure.
But one thing that John Tortorella mentioned a lot last year, we've heard him talk about it this year, he talked about it the other day, was the locker room.
Yeah.
And in talking to several players, Carter after the Vegas game, TK after the game against Columbus, and players are citing the difference in the room and how together the team is. That takes time to happen organically and grow. Is that part of what we're seeing in this team's performance on the ice? Because, like I asked Carter, I said, you got to have a team that's together. And he said, it's the most important thing in team sports. If you don't have that, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Are we seeing this kind of core kind of really grab it?
I think there's definitely a piece to that. You go in, the Flyers had a series of games where they got into the third period really with an opportunity to win, or at least come away with points. and the Flyers weren't winning those games, and most of them ended up being regulation losses.
Vegas and Carolina in particular.
Yeah, Vegas, they were 33 seconds from at least 1 point, and Carolina, the Flyers dominated that third period, and you come away with a last minute loss on one mistake, really.
Yeah.
So that tests the team, and you go into San Jose and they lose that game, and you're 2 games under hockey 500. You're not winning games, and that's really a risk of things going off the rails. You play Anaheim, but then you get a series of tough games in succession in LA on the back end of a back-to-back. Then you're in Carolina, and then the defending Stanley Cup champions come to town, and if you don't get wins in those games, all of a sudden you're in a cavernous hole already at that point, because you're sunk already, kind of. So, but they didn't do that. They went out, after losing the first game of that road trip, and made a successful road trip out of it. And they found ways to win. You go and you play LA, a deep team, a big team, a heavy team. And they're a team that likes to throw a lot of rubber at the net, and they do that. The neutrals on forecheck. They have the 1-2-2, and they're kind of hard to navigate. So you have to be really patient, and they did that. And Carolina for the last 3 years has been the best puck possession team in the NHL. So you're probably going to be at the disadvantage against them, and they were. But you got great goaltending, and you played from ahead. You scored early. You're opportunistic, and then the Flyers had a 2-game stretch there between Carolina and the Vegas game. Was it 54 block shots between the 2 games?
Yeah, that's insane.
So just paying a price to win, bending but not breaking, and then again you play from ahead. Vegas will come back. You've stuck with the program, and you find a way to win in overtime. That's all tested the character of a room, as much as ability on the ice. And they're passing that test. So I think there is that element for sure.
But let me ask you about the fact that this team has scored 25 first-period goals so far this season. Last year, they scored 59 in 82 games. And it took until December 30th for them to get to 25 first-period goals last year.
Yeah.
They're at 25. They're leading the NHL. They're 10-1 when they score first. For years, I feel like it's been a decade.
Yeah.
We go, this team never comes out of the room ready to tear the door off and play with a lead. All of a sudden this year, their team scoring first, then putting themselves not in the position to not chase games. I mean, the fact that they're leading in any offensive category, if you'd have told me that before, if I'd have told you that before the season, you would have me committed. How the hell is this happening?
Yeah. It comes out that they're playing fast. They establish a forecheck right off the bat. We've said many times that the puck moves faster than anybody can skate. They're moving the puck up well.
Yeah.
And they've been opportunistic. The transition game is so much better. Breaking up plays, from whether it's the red line or your own blue line. And now all of a sudden you're going the other way with momentum. You're dealing with short ice. And they score, because they're not scoring a ton of deflection goals. The kind of we have to scratch out gritty kind of goals. They've scored a lot of really nice ones too. Yeah. So which means that you can further improve those other areas too. But they're earning their goals. They're outworking teams to the puck. They're making plays. Winning 50-50 pucks, and all of a sudden the puck goes out in front, or whatever the case might be. They've been able to capitalize, and you just cited the record. They've only lost 1 game when scoring first, and by the same token, one thing they're going to be tested on, and as they continue to go forward, is okay, if you don't score first, how do you do in those games? Because when you look at the teams that are that are playoff teams or the teams that are the Flyers will ultimately be chasing, if not this year, then down the line. Those teams have winning records too, even with not scoring first.
Yeah.
So that's those are all things to strive for.
The crazy part about it is like that Joel Farabee goal that opened the scoring against Columbus. Like I see that goal and you go, that's a really unfortunate turnover in the neutral zone from Columbus, and you get a little bit of puck luck on where it goes, and Farabee gets it in stride and scores the goal off his backhand. But I also look at it and go, you kind of create that when you're as aggressive as you are in the neutral zone. And I want to talk about Travis Sanheim. We've talked about him a lot, but I thought in the Columbus game, he was incredibly aggressive to a point. I mean, I remember in the first intermission with Brian Smith, I said, he went beast mode as he's going up the ice. Guys are bumping off him and hanging on him, and he's just, boom, plowing up the right side. And I'm going, who the heck is this guy? He looked like Marshawn Lynch going up the ice, and we never saw this before.
No, he sure did. I mean, one thing he was always good at sometimes when he was going well would be like joining the play as a trailer.
Yeah.
But he's actually taking the puck up ice. Even if he just gets it to the blue line and dumps it in the rest of the way, he wasn't going to be denied to do that. And that's one of the ways he's been a force. There's been a whole other level to his game so far this year, and it's been, I don't think you can overestimate what it's meant to the team and to the blue line as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, he's producing on the power play. Yeah. I mean, it's been unbelievable, this transformation year to year to the player that he is now. I mean, obviously he's bigger and stronger, but what it's done to him mentally is astounding to me. Bill, Morgan Frost was scratched to make way for Bobby Brink. Frost did have the 4 points in a couple of games prior, but he finds himself back on the shelf again. How does this situation play out? Because, he's not getting a lot of rope. He didn't have a great game against Vegas.
No, he did not.
It did come in a win, though. We know coaches don't like to make changes. I know they wanted to get Brink back in, but this is, turning into a bigger situation than maybe we thought it would.
Yeah, I think in all 100% honesty, there's a bit of a double standard here, because he did have points in 3 straight games, 4 points in the 3 games, as you said. The standard was, he needs to produce points or at least a lot of chances to stay in the lineup. And he did that. And I agree with you. He had actually, I thought, a pretty bad game against Vegas. He had a couple turnovers. He took a bad penalty. He had a tough day on faceoffs. It was one game where I didn't think he was creating very much. In the Carolina game, he had that nice little touch pass to tip it for the game's first goal and created 3 other chances during the game. Vegas, he didn't really create anything. But, on the flip side, he blocked 4 shots. And, towards his mantra, which he said over and over and over again, well, if you're not going to produce offense, contribute in other ways. I thought that was an example of he had nothing going offensively, blocks 4 shots in a game you win, and saying that you weren't anxious to change the lineup. And the only message to me that sends is if you have a bad game, you're out.
Yeah.
And I think there have been guys who've had bad weeks, a couple offensively. Nobody's there have been no passengers, including Frost. But, nobody's just been a total zero on the ice. But there have been guys who've struggled at what they're supposed to be key areas, and I'm not in favor of scratching, Cates as an example. But, Cates has been way off his game for a while, but there's no, I sometimes I think Torch would rather cut his right hand off than to Cates for any reason. And I'm not saying that Frost can't sit an occasional game, but I do think as with scratching him for 6 after two games into the season, I think that I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I think as people know, but ultimately, it's up to Torts to manage the personnel, to push the right buttons. And listen, you can't complain when Brink comes back in the lineup and scores a power play goal for you. Mm-hmm. And and Paling moves up in the lineup, and Paling gets a couple goals for you, including a shorthanded goal. So, it's up to the coach to make those decisions, and they've been working. He pushes the right buttons more often than not, and so ultimately, I think that's what you have to go by, the bottom line.
I think the interesting thing to me is, the human element of this. Frost is a creative playmaker, and coming in and out of the lineup like that will sometimes handcuff you to being a creative playmaker, which
for sure. And Torts has said, well, when Bobby gets in the lineup, or Frost or whoever, I don't want guys afraid to make a mistake. But you create that scenario where the guy is always looking over his shoulder, afraid to make a mistake, and more likely to play conservatively.
And make a mistake.
If you turn a couple pucks over and you're out the next night, I don't like it. I think that I think there's room in the lineup for both of those players. I'll give you an example. Another quick example, and I've been saying that Tyson Foerster had all kinds of scoring chances, so he deserved to stay in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But he has 1 goal through 16 games. Ultimately, he's a guy you need goals from. I mean, he's not in the NHL to be a checker. He's in the NHL to be a point producer. He scored a goal last game. Again, was nice, pressures off his shoulders. Was in the right place at the right time. A puck bounces off the end boards out to him, scores. Good stuff, and hopefully he builds off of it. But last night now against Columbus, he had 1 shot attempt. That's not good enough. He has to be better than that. And I think Brink sits for 3. Is there? I sometimes I think that Torts doesn't like smallish playmaking types. He didn't really like Zuccarello in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I just some guys are Torts kind of players and some guys aren't.
Yep.
I think maybe we just have different tastes in players. I don't know, but I think sometimes he's a little too quick on the hook on some guys and a little slow on the hook for others. That's it.
Bill, what does the team do if Stahl and Ristolainen are due to come back this week? I thought we'd probably see Stahl last night. We didn't. Yeah. You got this decor. I thought Nick Seeler played a great game again last night. I mean, this guy, there was just no expectations when he became a Flyer out of Minnesota. But, what do they do here? I imagine, first and foremost, Belpedio gets sent back down. Yeah. You don't want to move Travis. I'm not moving Travis Sanheim off the right side. No. I'm not messing with anything.
He has to stay on that side of the ice. And keep developing York too.
Yep. I guess you put Ristolainen on the third pair. You shelter him a little bit because he hasn't played it all this year. No. You put him with a rotation of Seeler and Zamula, and then you put Stahl with Walker on the second pair. Is that kind of what you do here?
Right now, I like how Seeler's playing a lot.
So do I.
So, my feeling is that what happens, and listen, he was just benched for the third period, and he's been scratched several times this year. I think Zamula comes out, and there's still inconsistency in his game, but his good games and his good plays have been really good.
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of that push pull. I'm not in favor necessarily of sitting him a bunch, but I think what happens, at least first, is Stahl comes in, plays most of the time, and I think that's, at least for a little while, your third pairing, Stahl and Ristolainen. And then as you need to tweak and adjust, Ristolainen is the guy who's used to playing 20 minutes a night, or 20 or more minutes a night most of his career. He didn't get off to the best start with Torts last year, but Ristolainen kind of simplified his game and really had a pretty darn good year. In a down season for the team, he kind of found a way for him to play that was effective. So I think that ultimately they may move him up, but right now Steelers earned those minutes. So I think that you just kind of tweak the third pairing a little bit, and I do think Belpedio goes down, but with a big when we have injuries or whatever, you come right back up again. He's done a nice job.
Yeah, he's made a good account of himself. I think sometimes coaches go, okay, I want to have the full complement, everybody healthy, but maybe not right now. We're rolling good here. Like, don't
Yeah.
put me to this decision now. And the thing I wonder about Ristolainen is, as you mentioned, there was a lot of battles to get him where he got to last year. And he had a really good year. And he wasn't overrunning plays, playing good positional hockey inside the dots,
Sure.
towing that line of being, a feared player, but not one that's going to do it at, the team's peril. I wonder, do we have to go through that process again to get him back there? Or was that last year enough to ingrain him that he's going to come back with the player he eventually evolved into last year?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really. He had I think he had a little bit of preseason action, but didn't really have a camp or a preseason. That was interrupted with injury, and and apparently some of this goes back to the summertime, so he didn't have a normal summer training schedule. I think that there might be some rough patches early on to kind of get him back to where he was last year. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But I think there's going to be. I think sometimes when the guy has a not to say totally a breakthrough season, but a season where he tweaks some things, and I think there's sometimes a tendency to fall back on familiar habits. I guess you would say at first. So that's going to be a challenge when he gets back in.
He had a hockey epiphany. Bet you didn't think you'd hear that word.
There we go.
There we go. Bill, great stuff. We'll read your stuff at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. And we will talk to everybody tomorrow on a brand new Flyers Daily.